Hello, and thanks for joining us for the Friends of the Farm lecture series. Each session is designed small and in-depth dose of cannabis education. I'm Candace Hawes, and I want to thank all of our viewers and customers for joining us from the pharmacy, the pottery, and the Natural Healing Center, as well as all of our friends joining us from around the world. Every episode, we have a new guest joining us to cover a new topic to bring you new cannabis education. Today we have a great show and we'll be talking to Rob Merkelbach from Rosin Tech Labs, breaking down the process of making fresh press and cold cure rosin. Rob, did I say your last name correctly?
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you, Candace. Happy to
Okay.
be here. Really appreciate the opportunity and looking forward to it.
Okay, great. Just a little bit of information about Rosin Tech. When Rosin Tech was founded in 2015, solventless extracts weren't really, a widespread, kind of extract that a lot of people were consuming. It was still a relatively new concept. They wanted to empower people to make their own concentrates right at home in a safe and healthy way. They helped refine techniques used by some of the greatest hash artists in the world. They fought for and pushed for the idea of solventless across the globe. They remain relentless in their passionate pursuit and promotion of solventless because they've always believed it's the highest form of hash. From the beginning, it was always they always wanted to make their own hash. So in 2018, they began with the next phase in their hash journey. They started the licensing process and started Rosin Tech Labs. They moved into their own facility and began outfitting it with their own award-winning equipment. The core principle has always been to make the type of high quality hash that they would want to smoke. And in 2021, 2022, and 2023, Rosin Tech Labs won the Emerald Cup Awards and continue to prove that by curating the best flower and remaining true to their principles, they can create the best rosin on the market. So with that, I'm so happy to have Rob with us. He's such a good and true wealth of knowledge. He did an amazing training for us at the pharmacy, and I had to have him on here. I find that there's a lot of customers that really don't understand the nuances of the process, and so I thought it'd be really great to have you come on here and explain, the process, how you guys make it, and there's actually not a lot of difference between it, but like people don't understand, the difference. And so I thought you were such a great, educator to us here at the staff. And so I wanted you to come on here and to explain it to all of our customers and consumers. And so thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Candace. Like I said, it's a pleasure to be here, and I love getting out there and educating on solventless. And I am definitely a weed nerd at heart and a hash lover at heart, and look forward to today's conversation.
Yeah. So I always like to start more like talking about the person. So how did you end up working for Rosin Tech? And so before it was Rosin Tech Labs and before you guys started making the concentrates, you guys actually first started making the machinery. So tell me how you came to work for Rosin Tech.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. The company was founded 8 years ago back in New York as Rosin Tech Products, manufacturing and selling the equipment to extract the oil from the cannabis. And I started with the company about a year into their operation. I've been with the company 7 years. I was one of the first 5 or 6 employees back in New York. And our goal was always to get out to California and get our rosin and our hash on the market for sale. But it took us a few years to navigate our way through the licensing process and get our facilities established out here. So for the first 2 or 3 years, we began to make a name for ourselves and for our brand, Rosin Tech, by getting out to all of the High Times Cannabis Cup events, Chalice Cup events, Emerald Cup events, Champs Glass trade shows, basically a traveling hash show, traveling around the country to any place that would allow us to do live demonstrations and educations on the solventless extraction process and the solventless wave that we knew was very little known at that point, but we knew it was the wave of the future and coming. And for 2 or 3 years, that was basically what we did until we were able to navigate our way through the licensing process and build out our facilities out here We're now located in Torrance, California. In Southern California is our main facilities where we do all of our manufacturing and distribution. And we also service the full state. So we have a second location in Sonoma County in Cloverdale where we do distribution as well.
That's amazing. So were you at the shows like back in the early days, like actually like pressing like people's like flour, like in the early
Yes,
days when we
exactly.
used
That's
to like
Yes, we were getting out to like the High Times cannabis cups, and we would set up our machines and bring our own flour and welcome the crowd to bring their own flour, of course. And we were just doing live demonstrations on rosin pressing and making solventless extracts and just educating people on the process, all with the end goal, as I said, of getting out here to California and getting our hash to the market.
Yeah, I remember that in the very early days before we actually were making the hash first, when like the presses first came out, we were just doing it straight to flour. I remember when it first came out, it was like the big thing. And you guys were like one of the first companies doing it. So that's really cool that you were really like in the very beginning, out there doing it. That's really cool that you were able to, be with the company and really see it grow, and that now you're out here in California, and helping to bring the company through all the phases and helping them now launch Rosin Tech Labs. That's really cool. So now let's talk a little bit about Rosin Tech Labs. And what makes you guys so special, I think, is all the care that you guys put into like the source. So you guys take great care in sourcing the highest quality flour. So can you talk about that?
Yes, absolutely. At the end of the day, we understand that we would never be able to make the high quality rosin and hash that we make absent of this awesome starting material. So we firmly believe that we allow the cultivators to do what they do best, which is grow the flower, and we do what we do best, which is make the hash. And we're blessed to have partnerships with more than 10 farms at this point up and down the state of California. We do source primarily from small batch craft cannabis growers up in the Emerald Triangle in Sonoma, Humboldt, and Mendocino counties. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
No worries.
We've been sourcing, primarily from small batch cannabis, craft cannabis growers up in Sonoma, Mendocino, Humboldt counties, as I said from the beginning. And we also have partnerships, down in Santa Barbara County and San Luis Obispo County with larger, more commercial grows for our green line flower, for our green line rosin.
That's cool. And most of these farms that you work with, do you find that they're growing primarily for like concentrate makers? So the flour that they're growing is, being used like for concentrates, being put like directly into like the freezers, being, you know, made.
Yes, absolutely. I can go into the process. Everything begins with the flour being frozen almost immediately after it is cut down. The farms are as soon as they cut the flour down, it's immediately frozen, normally at 20 or 30 degrees below zero, and it's stored that way until it's transported to us. Once the flour is transported to us, we have large walk-in freezers in our facility where it's stored as well until we begin the manufacturing process, and we control the entire process in-house from A to Z. So when we're doing the washing process and the manufacturing process, that's being done in a controlled environment as well. We have a 40-foot by 40-foot cold room that stays in an average of 33 or 34 degrees during the entire process of washing and sifting the flour.
That's really cool. So it gets transported even like in the trucks, like in a freezer truck to like your guys' facility, all the way from like
Exactly.
up north, all the way to like to Torrance. Did you say, is that like where the
Yes, our
actual
main facility is
manufacturing
located
facility
now
is?
in Southern California in Torrance, and that's where we do all of our manufacturing of the product.
That's cool. And you guys have won some awards at the Emerald Cup, right? Just this last year and the year prior and in 2021.
Yes, we have. We have some great partnerships. In 2022, we took first place at the Emerald Cup for the first place for the best rosin in the state of California in our partnership with Luma Farms from from up in Petaluma, California, with our papaya, with their papaya strain, and we won first place with the fresh pressed papaya strain. And then this past year in 2022, it was another collaboration with Luma Farms for their rosin, along with some flower from Decibel Gardens, where we took first place in the Emerald Cup for our hash roll, which is a hash infused hand rolled pre roll, one
Love
of our
that.
newest additions. And that recognition that we've gained over the past couple of years within the community by participating in winning events such as the Emerald Cup you had mentioned, and some other smaller events up and down the state of California, has really brought us some great recognition and respect within the community, and we're really grateful for that.
That's cool. I really love to, and I see one of our viewers, Maureen, who's one of our regular viewers. Thanks for watching, Maureen. She says she loves that you're supporting the small batch growers. Keep them that you're keeping them alive and growing. And I would like to also, echo that sentiment. It's so important that companies like yours and other companies, are doing that. That you guys are supporting these small batch growers and these, Northern California legacy growers, as
Absolutely.
we've seen them kind of take a hit, as some of these bigger, cannabis companies are coming in, I love to see that, that you guys, are partnering with them and keeping them alive. So that's really cool. And actually like bringing them notoriety as you guys are taking their flower and like winning these cups, and bringing them along with you and like raising their names up. And,
Yes.
it's really cool. And so, I love that you're doing that and, and like making them kind of like celebrities. And then after like you're winning, and then people are like the next year, like fighting over, rights to get their flower. So it's really cool that what you guys have done for them. It's really
Yes, and
awesome.
as I said, we're really grateful and blessed to be working with some of the best legacy small batch craft cannabis growers up and down the state of California, and we've formed some great partnerships over the last few years.
Yeah, like you say, it really starts with them. If you didn't have this great,
Yes.
source product to work with, I had
Yes, it
seen
all begins with the starting material, and that's why we always credit our farm partners on all of our packaging, and let our customers know that we love and respect our farm partners. And as you said, absent of their awesome starting material, we wouldn't be able to make this award-winning hash for you all to enjoy.
I couldn't find a picture of it again, but I saw at one of your other trainings. There was one crop that you guys had, and when you guys were washing it, it was like washing out purple.
Yes.
Which one? Do you remember which one that was?
Oh,
Was it the Huckleberry Hill, one of their crops?
yes, I believe that was the
White Thorn Row?
Huckleberry Hill Farms up in Humboldt County. Last year, we did a drop of their White Thorn Rose,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
was just absolutely amazing. And you're right, it was literally a purple color, coming off in the water in the wash. It was really, really one of our most well received and one of my personal favorites over the last couple of years.
Yeah. So that's cool. So that's one of the things I love about your guys' company is the care that you guys take to source that quality product, that flour, which is the source, for the great
Yes.
product that you guys make. So another thing I'd like to talk about, because surprisingly, a lot of people don't even know what live means.
Okay.
I talked to some of the concentrate consumers. They're like, "Oh yeah, I know," but they don't really know. So the very basic question, but like, what does it mean when we're talking about live resin? What does live mean?
Yes, I'd love to go through that process, and why it is known as live rosin. As I had said earlier, the entire process begins with fresh frozen flour. The flour is never cured and never dried. It's immediately flash frozen as soon as it is cut down, and it remains that way until we begin the manufacturing of the washing process, which again is done in a controlled environment in a closed walk-in 40 by 40 freezer that stays at around 33 or 34 degrees during that process. And the process begins with that fresh frozen flour being put into, say, like a 50-gallon drum, a 50-gallon cylinder with a mixture of ice and water. And the goal is to agitate the trichome heads free from the stalks and from the plant material as gently as possible, to preserve the quality of those trichome heads. That's where the terpenes exist. And at the end of the day, our goal is to have our hash be the truest representation of the starting material of the flower as possible. Um, we use a series of micron screens. We do pull the full spectrum, beginning with as small as 25 micron, and we go all the way through up to the 45, the 70, the 90, the 120. We'll go as high as the 190 and the 220 micron as well. And we'll do the wash, and we'll separate the trichome heads using those micron filter screens. And when the material comes through the screens, it comes out in sort of like a wet beach sand consistency. And that's known as water hash, that wet beach sand consistency. We do pull the full spectrum of trichome heads, but we don't use the full spectrum in our manufacturing. Every strain is a little bit different, but what we found works best for us over the last few years is normally a mix of the 70 micron, the 90, and the 120. That mixture together is what we found allows us to harvest the best trichome heads, keeping them intact and preserving that terpene profile for the best end result of the hash or the rosin. And once it is washed and it comes out into that like wet beach sand material, it's then taken and put on a steel tray and parchment paper and put into a commercial grade freeze dryer. Back in the day, the process could take a few weeks to dry the water hash out in a regular drying room. But over the last few years, we've adapted the use of equipment from the commercial food industry, and these freeze dryers are extremely efficient. And we can normally take it from fresh washed water hash into that, put it into the freeze dryer, and about 11 or 12 hours later, when we take it out, it is bone dry, more of a dry beach sand consistency. And that's the ice water hash, the purest form of hash that you can possibly make. That's the beginning of the process. That water hash is then put into filter bags and pressed, as you see above, and a combination of heat and pressure in our rosin presses to extract the oil from the water hash and refine it just a little bit further. If you could go on to the next slide there, Candace, you'll see the oil escaping the heat plates there onto the parchment paper. That's the fresh pressed rosin. That's the end result of taking that water hash and exposing it to that combination of heat and pressure in a small 25 micron filter bag to get the cleanest possible rosin.
That's so cool. And there you have it. That's so cool. And so that's the fresh press rosin, pretty much.
Yes, that's
live
the fresh press live rosin. And if you'd like me to go into the difference between fresh press and cold cured and how we do that process, be happy to do that as well. As you see here on the video above, that oil, as soon as the press is finished and we've extracted all the oil from the bag, that parchment paper is immediately sealed up and put into a freezer, and it stays there until our guys begin to gram it out into the jars. That's fresh pressed live rosin. And when our guys do the gramming process, the men and women in the packaging team, that's again done in a controlled environment, and we try to touch or manipulate the rosin as little as humanly possible. So like when you look into one of our jars of a fresh press rosin, this is an example of a grandma's cobbler fresh press from Luma Farms. A little difficult to see, but you can see like that nice, clear, glassy, translucent look. That's the fresh press live rosin. And it's a little difficult to see on the camera here, but we don't take it and try to roll it into a nice little ball and press it down in the center of the jar. Our rosin, when you first open the jar, you'll see 3 or 4 or 5 different layers of kind of shatter or glass, nice, clean, clear shatter or glass material stacked up on top of each other. And that's the fresh pressed live rosin. Our cold cured live rosin begins the same way. The entire process is exactly the same up until the pressing, but as opposed to taking it from the parchment paper and putting it immediately into a freezer unit, it's taken and put into a glass mason jar, what's become known as jar tech. And that glass mason jar is filled and sealed and then goes into a cooler unit, not a freezer, more like a wine cooler temperature, like a 56 or 58 degree temperature, never more than 60 degrees. And we leave that jar in there sealed up for at least a week the first time. Before we open it the first time, release the gases, and then we begin to agitate and stir that rosin gently, with the goal being to spread out the trichomes and the terpenes evenly throughout the entire batch and to get it to that proper cold cured kind of wetter consistency. And every strain is different. Every batch is a little different. That process can go on every day for as much as a week or 2 weeks beyond that initial cure. until we feel that it's the proper consistency and the proper mix to be grammed out and put into our jars and hit the market.
I love it. It's like you're a cold cure expert, huh? He just goes in there and like stirs it a little bit, smells the terpenes,
Exactly,
like
and
it's ready.
yes, and everything that hits our jars, the entire process, it's our entire team. This is a passion project for us. We're all hash lovers at heart.
Hmm.
So nothing hits our jars until our team and our beta testing group, which is our friends, gets a chance to see it, smell it, dab it, taste it, and give their feedback. And if it's up to par, it hits our jar. If it doesn't, we move on to the next one. And that's one of the nicest things about not being single sourced is each and every strain that we release prior to making the decision, we do a test wash with it, we do a test press, we test dab it. And as I said, if it's up to par, it hits our jar. If it's not quite up to par, we go back to the grower and say, hey, thank you so much for the opportunity. We appreciate it. This one didn't work out. Let's see what you've got next. And that's given us the ability to not only work with some of the best farms up and down the state of California, but to also work with their best strains.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that has only happened, over the past 3 or 4 years through the recognition that we've gained within the community has now translated over to the farms. And some of these, award-winning farms that weren't too excited to work with us a few years ago are looking to give us the best deals a few years ago. Now they're happy to be collaborating with us. And like I said, we're grateful for the opportunities we've been given to work with some of these awesome farmers and put out some of the best hash in the world.
Yeah. Well, you guys earned that respect, by, proving it. And I love that, by the way, that, if it's up to par, it hits the jar. I hope somebody has that tattooed somewhere or, on a wall, because
that could be a good addition to our new logos. That's a good idea. Yeah. But that's really it. It's if it's up to par for us, then we know it's up to par for the community. If it's not up to par for us, we won't put our name on it. We won't put it in our jars and ask people to spend their hard-earned money on it.
And it's true. Like yesterday when I was, purchasing some Rosin Tech, for myself, to do some experimentation and, before the show, I was like, you know what? I know that all of it's good. So, give me any of them. I know that anything that they produce is going to be something good. So I'm not going to be disappointed. You guys have that reputation, which is a good thing. So can you talk about, how do you guys decide if it's going to be a fresh press or if it's going to be a cold cure? How do you guys make that determination? Is it how it kind of comes out from the machine that you guys make that decision?
No, not necessarily. Pretty much every single strain that we decide to release can be released as a fresh press or a cold cure. It's changed a lot over the years. The public demand has changed a lot to whereas in the beginning, 4 or 5 years ago, we were producing 80 or 90% fresh press rosin and only 10 or 20% cold cured rosin. That public demand and community, demand has changed over the years to now we're producing more like 60 or 70% cold cured rosin and 20 or 30% fresh press rosin. So we basically make those decisions based on public demand and based on what we need to keep our retail partners supplied.
Yeah.
But everything that we make is up to par, and we can put out as fresh pressed and cold cured. Like we're dropping a Tropicana cherries, I know this month, as a cold cure on our green line, on our value price line. And I know we dropped it 3 or 4 months ago as a fresh press. It did really well as a fresh press. This time we're dropping it as a cold cure. It's really just a matter of supply and demand and what our retail partners need to keep their customers happy.
Yeah. And like, what would you say is like really the difference between like a fresh press and a cold cure?
No, that's a great question. And at the end of the day, the effect or the high of a fresh press live rosin or a cold cure rosin is going to be pretty much exactly the same. It's really a matter of you as the consumer, your preferred way to consume. And by that, I mean, a fresh press live rosin is a little more difficult to work with than a cold cured live rosin. A lot of the community has gone to dabbing on the run and dabbing on the road, and the cold cure is just simply a little bit easier to work with. The consistency of that wet, kind of wet battery consistency is just simply easier to work with and easier to get into the dab rig. And like you'll notice if you open a jar of the fresh pressed live rosin, like I just showed a moment ago, I have here this beautiful Grandma's Cobbler from Luma. If you open a jar of this, the nose is strong, but then when you go next to a jar of our cold cured rosin, this is a beautiful one. This is the the banana milkshake from Booney Acres Farms. The nose on the cold cure is always going to be a little bit more pronounced out of the jar because it's been exposed to warmer temperatures already. Whereas the fresh pressed live rosin, those terpenes are preserved and kept inside by being frozen. So you'll notice that difference in the nose out of the jar. And then it's the complete opposite when you go to take your first dab. When you take that fresh pressed live rosin and drop it into the banger and expose it to the heat, the taste and the smell will be a little more explosive and a little more pronounced than the cold cure. But at the end of the day, the effect or the high will be exactly the same.
Yeah. If somebody got the fresh press, but they wanted to change the consistency to be more like a cold cure, what could they do?
Yes, that's a great question there too. Like me personally, if I'm on the road, I'm always taking a cold cure with me on the road. As I said, it's just that ease of use and easier to dab. But I much prefer to use the fresh press at home. And once I take it out of my freezer and I put it out on the dab table, I normally never put it back into the freezer again. I'll keep it capped up overnight, of course. But each day I like to open it up and see how the consistency has changed and how it begins to grease up and then chalk up and cure on its own. And some days I'll make the choice of, scooping you'll see the terpenes rise to the top of the rosin in the jar. Some days I'll make the choice to scoop that off and dab that up just as is, or some days I'll take it and mix it back in and begin to continue that curing process myself with the fresh pressed over the next couple of days and or weeks.
Yeah, so you can almost like turn it into cold cured, right?
Yes, absolutely. You can cure it yourself over the next few days and or weeks, depending on how long that gram lasts you.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes not too long.
Yes.
And I apologize, I forgot to bring these pictures up, but can you tell us like a little bit about what this picture is right here?
Sure. That's just an example of, like, you'll see the drips coming down from the parchment paper on the right side of the parchment paper. Those are the drips, just how they escaped the heat plates and came onto the parchment paper. And on the left side, attached to the dab tool, is just an example of the consistency once it's been gathered off the parchment paper and gathered together. So it's basically the before and after. The right side is the immediately after coming off of the heat plates, and the left side is just after it's been gathered and collected.
And it would just pretty much get like kind of weighed out and just put straight into jars like that.
Exactly. As I said, that parchment paper goes directly into the freezer unit once it escapes the heat plates. And when the men and women in our packaging room are doing the packaging, they're literally just snapping off little pieces of those drips and dropping them into the jar one at a time until it hits a gram.
Mm-hmm. They've got good eyes. They can
so that's as fresh as it gets.
Yep. And then this picture here, can you tell us a little bit about this one?
Yes, that's the end result. That's an example of our cold cure product after it's been through the process, as I said before. And the process could take anywhere from a week up to 2 or 3 weeks. Every batch and every every strain has a little different consistency. And as I said, our goal is to cure it as slowly and gently as possible, and just to have that whole terpene profile and trichomes spread out evenly through the batch. And you'll see, like I said, the fresh press is more of that clean, glassy, translucent look to it, whereas the cold cure is more of a bit of a wet, battery look to it.
Yeah, it looks completely different,
Yes.
And the only difference is letting it sit longer and like kind of aerating it,
Yeah, it's just exposing it to the warmer temperatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my kind of peanut butter right there. It looks great. Can you tell us about your black and your green line?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. There? Absolutely. For the first almost 4 years, we're 5 years into the California market here. For the first almost 5 years, We were Rosin Tech Labs, and we had one product. It was high-end, top-shelf, premium live rosin, and it came in a black box, and that's all we had. Not that we didn't want to have other product lines, we simply didn't have the budget or the bandwidth to produce them. About a year ago, we always wanted to be able to put out a lesser priced or value priced quality solventless rosin without sacrificing the quality. And the way we were able to do that is through our farm partnerships. And said for the first 4 or 5 years, 3 or 4 years, the black line rosin was and continues to be sourced primarily from those small batch craft cannabis grows up in Sonoma County, Humboldt and Mendocino, farms like Luma and Valley Grove and Emerald Queen and Huckleberry Hill, as we mentioned before. One of our newest collaborations that I absolutely love is from Booney Acres Farms. We have 3 strains of Booney Acres Farms right now that are just fire. And any one of these strains that we put out, these are farms that are creating their own genetics, constantly pheno hunting, constantly cracking seeds and pheno hunting, and constantly trying to improve upon the genetics and create new genetics. They're true small batch exclusive strains and drops, and that's what the black line has been from day one. But as I said, we did want to put out a value price line, and our green line is something we released close to a year ago. And the way we were able to get our price point down was by identifying farm partnerships with larger, more commercial grade farms, still awesome growers up and down the coast, some in Santa Barbara County, some in San Luis Obispo County, like Happy Dreams Farms and Madani Farms and quite a few others who are larger, more commercial scale growers that have identified strains that work for them, and they grow specifically for hash. By that I mean they're not necessarily trying to create their own genetics or create new strains. They've identified what works, what they can grow well, and what translates well from flower to hash, and they simply do it on a much larger scale than some of these small batch craft growers that we use for the black line. And they're always trying to improve upon their genetics as well, and constantly pheno hunting and trying to improve upon the strains that they put out. But as I said, they've identified the strains that work well for them and that throw off a high yield and are available in much larger quantities. So it's simply a combination of us being able to source larger amounts of materials from them at a lower price point and source a material that's already proven to yield well. They're only growing strains for hash that put out high yields. It's the combination of those two things that allowed us to put out the green line at a lower price point without sacrificing the quality of the product. The manufacturing product for our black line, the premium line, or for the green line, the value price line, is exactly the same. It's all first pull water hash. It's all first press live rosin. It's all a combination of the same micron sizes that I had mentioned earlier. There's no difference whatsoever in the manufacturing process. It's just simply, 4 or 5 years ago, if we walked into a farm like Luma and we said, we want to source your best strain at a good price, and we'll put your farm's name on our packaging, and it'll be a great collaboration. They weren't bending over backwards to work with us to give us the best price. They didn't know who the heck we were and didn't really care about a collaboration. And like I said, fortunately, over the last few years, the recognition that we've gained in the industry and in the community as a whole has gotten through to the farmers. And now we have the farms approaching us, these award-winning farms approaching us that want to do collaborations with us. And we're really blessed and grateful for that, because it has allowed us, as I said, not only work with the best farms, but to choose the best strains from those farms for our product.
That's really cool. I love it. And I love, like, one of the things you told me too that is really cool is, like, sometimes, you'll get really good output from, like, these green lines that could, like, be a black line, quality product, but that you'll still pass it on to consumers at a green line.
Absolutely. And absolutely, because again, the manufacturing process is the same. And just because it comes out good enough that we say, hey, we could sell this at a higher price point, that goes against our entire goal. And our goal was to be able to engage with a whole nother demographic, a part of the community that more than likely was not Rosin Tech fans or Rosin Tech consumers, simply due to that high price point, and they couldn't, more than likely couldn't justify spending the money on that top shelf, top tier rosin. And I like to say justify, not afford, because we all find a way to afford what we love to do, but we can't always justify spending that top dollar money. And the thing that's been the most exciting for us over the past 10 or 12 months since the green line released is we're beginning to see it sell as much, if not more, than the black line in many of our retail partner shops. But our black line sales have not suffered at all. They've continued to scale up and grow as well. And that says to us that we accomplished our goal of engaging with that whole other demographic at that lower price point and at that value price point. And we've simply brought more people into our Rosin Tech world by making it available at a more affordable price. It's still a great quality product. And as I said, those farms that are growing on that larger commercial grade for us, this product, they're no less talented than the small batch growers. Mm-hmm. They're just simply doing something different, which is, growing on a larger scale, strictly for hash, of strains, that they know will yield well for us. And you will see, more commonplace strains like the GMOs or the Gush Mints in our green line, whereas in the black line, you're going to see things like our banana milkshake, and our other strains from Luma and Valley Grove, that are just a little more exclusive.
Yeah.
A little more rare.
That's really cool. I was at the Emerald Cup this last year, and you guys took home an award for, we'll go to this slide first, for your guys' hash hole. So I would love you guys to talk about that. And then one of your other products that's really cool too, which is your rosin bar. So can you guys talk about that too, which is two of your other really cool products that you guys offer?
Sure, yes. Yeah, the hash holes we're really excited about. We did... our first release was actually at the Emerald Cup. We hadn't even dropped them to the public market yet. And we did take home a first place award for the best hash hole in the state of California this year. And they are made by our team in-house. It is, yes, they're all hand rolled. Get to the camera there. All hand rolled. There is, it's 1.3 grams of flour and 0.3 grams of rosin. It's got a beautiful glass tip. You'll see our little logo on there with a spiral filter. Mm-hmm. And as I said, our team does these all by hand in our spot down in Torrance. We've had many different collaborations over the past 6 months now. This one that I have in front of me, this newest collaboration, is with our partners at Original Families Farms down here in LA. We're using their Skywalker OG. And then we used the rosin from Booney Acres Farms. This time we used the Mimosa V3.
They are so smooth and they are so nice.
Yes, it's really a high-end experience, from everything from the packaging to the unpackaging of it to the actual sitting down and seshing it and enjoying it with friends. It's really a high-end experience. It's a great gift to bring to parties and special events, holidays coming up. Bring them to your Thanksgiving party, your Christmas party, or New Year's party.
Best Thanksgiving ever, I'll tell you.
Yeah, and it's also been a nice introduction for people that maybe don't dab, don't get into hash because they don't have an electronic dab rig, or the torch may intimidate them, doing a regular dab. The hash hole has been a nice introduction for the flower smoker that wants to try the hash. And
so where are the concentrates in it for those who don't know? Where are the concentrates at in that joint there?
Right in the center, like even on our packaging, we put a little explanation of what a hash hole is and how it's manufactured. The way it's actually made is the team weighs out a 0.3 of a gram of rosin in that frozen state, and they roll it out into kind of a snake type formation, and the joint itself is rolled with a wooden stick, like a toothpick, but a thicker wooden stick down the center, and the joint is rolled around that wooden stick. Once that is done, the stick is actually pulled out of the center, and the hash or the rosin is dropped into the center of that joint, and then it's capped off and sealed up.
Super cool. That is super cool.
Yeah, and it's designed to smoke lightly and slowly, and as you smoke it, the rosin and the hash will slowly but surely melt its way all the way down to the end, so you get a little bit of hash in every hit.
Yeah,
Really a great experience and a great product, and we're really happy with how well the public's receiving them as well.
yeah, it's super nice. Sometimes with the infused, pre-rolls, it can get kind of stale or, super, super nice. One of the probably the nicest infused pre-roll I've ever had. So,
Yeah, we appreciate that, and like I said,
yeah.
we've had some great collaborations with. This one is originals. We've done some work with Cam, some work with Luma, some work with Decibel Gardens, where we won the Emerald Cup, and we're always sourcing high-end indoor flower for the 1.3 grams of flower, and the rosin, the same rosin that's in our Black Lion jars. It's always the premium rosin from our Black Lion premium rosin that goes into the hash hole.
So cool. Congrats on that.
We appreciate it. We were excited about that. And I know you had mentioned the next product that we just released recently as well is known as our Rosin Bar. They've been on the market now, I guess, about 6 months. And here it is. Yeah, we use the exact same rosin that is in the jars is in the Rosin Bar vapes as well. Basically, the rosin bars are a disposable vape pen. They're filled with nothing but decarboxylated solventless rosin. There's no artificial flavors, no cutting agents, no additives, other than the terpenes and the cannabinoids that we've extracted from the plant, using our chemical-free solventless techniques. It's the exact same thing that's in the rosin jars. The way we get it to the proper consistency without burning off that terp profile is by taking that cold cure live rosin out of the cooler unit and placing it into a commercial grade baking oven. We're not cooking it though. We're just gently warming it at maybe 115, 120 degrees, like a hot day in the desert, over a long period of time. And again, every strain is completely different in how long that process takes. But for us, it's normally anywhere from a 2 to a 4 or 5 week process to get that rosin to the proper consistency or the proper viscosity to get it into the vape device without burning off that terp profile. Because again, our goal is to always have our products, the best terpene retention possible and have them be the truest representation of the flower. And, we could do it in a quicker way at a higher temperature, but that burns off the terpene profile. Then you're in a position where you have to maybe reintroduce botanical terpenes to bring the flavor back. And that goes against everything we do, which is just solventless. And as I said, ours are just basically decarboxylated solventless rosin.
Yeah, that's amazing. I had no idea it takes that long, but I guess if you're doing it the right way, and like one of our guests using thinners, it does, doing it the right way does take that long.
It can be done faster, but faster isn't always better. We wanted them to have that same flavor profile. We want you to be able to take a dab of the, like that grandma's cobbler. I have it here, and I showed you before in the fresh press. We have the grandma's cobbler, the same rosin in the rosin bar as well. And that one's from a combination of Luma Farms and Savage Farms for that particular strain.
Oh, that's really cool. So yeah, portable. So if you don't have your Carta or you don't have your, hash hole on you, then you can, pick up the rosin bar. That's really cool. And I love this particular unit that you guys have chosen to use. I believe it's also like compostable, right? Is that correct?
It is. And the challenge with the rosin vapes has always been the hardware. We've been manufacturing the oil for quite a few years now, but we've undergone endless challenges with identifying the right partner for hardware. We use a company called AVD, or Advanced Vape Devices, for this. And this device, it's a rechargeable, disposable unit.
Nice.
Our units are 0.5 gram units, and they're designed to burn at a very low temperature. There are no temperature settings on here. The heat comes on gradually based on your draw or your inhale, and they're designed for a long, light draw. right here, as I could use a hit.
Everybody take a hit.
Yeah, it's really, a nice long light draw, but it's a legitimate dab
Nice.
in a vape pen. It's as clean as it gets, and produces that same nice even high as taking a dab. Just doesn't come on quite as strong because it's burning at such a low temperature.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I need to be careful how hard I hit it, quite frankly, because it does burn so slow and goes down so smooth. I don't realize how large of a hit I've taken a lot of time until the exhale, and that's when I realize maybe I overdid it a little bit. But it's really been great. I mean, I never not have one with me for all the places where it's not socially acceptable to light my joint or to break out my dab rig and take a dab. I'm hitting the rosin bar all
There's
day.
something for everywhere, right?
And we did release them about six months ago with our premium live rosin, and then just about 6 weeks ago, we did decide to bring them to the market using our green line live rosin at a more affordable price point as well. So we have both options on the live rosin and on the vape devices for that premium line and that more value price line.
I love it. That's cool. Very cool. So that brings me to like my next question for like aficionados of the brand. Oh no, don't look at the screen. For aficionados of the
That's out of the
brand,
box.
what do you guys have coming up next?
Yeah, our next product that we actually just dropped last week, and we're really excited about, are our, as Candace has up on the screen there, our rosin drop solventless gummies. And they're ice water hash infused. We're using our beautiful granular dry beach sand water hash right out of the freezer, putting it into the mix. And they are true to the strain flavor. We're not using any colors or any flavoring, just a little bit of a sugar coating to sweeten them up a bit. And the water hash. We did drop 3 strains this first time: a papaya, a Tropicana cherries, and a Georgia pie. And they're all super flavorful. My favorite is the papaya. It just tastes like eating a piece of fruit. It's the water hash is that clean and that strong. And It provides a really nice, clean, even high.
That's really, really cool. I love it. I think that's really cool. I love your guys' branding. It's like really clean, and it really speaks to like the concentrate consumer too. I don't know who did your guys' branding, but I love it.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. We've tried to go above and beyond with our packaging and our presentation to be as high end and match up what's inside that box or that jar.
Yeah, it's nice. And I think that like this question that we got from the audience really kind of like goes along with this product that you guys are launching and what you kind of how you like you described it. But this person is asking, how important is organic to your guys' brand and to like your guys' end product?
How important is organic?
Organic, or like I guess like using like vegan and like
yes, like the rosin drops are vegan. There's nothing like I said, no preservatives, no colors, no flavors, no additives. They are vegan, and that's very important to us. As I said, we take a great care. We put a great amount of effort and take great pride in controlling the process from A to Z in-house with our own team. From the time that farmer, as I said earlier, cuts down or harvests that plant and transports it to us frozen, everything is done in-house in a controlled environment to make sure there are no contaminants, no outside agents. Everything we produce is solventless, chemical-free, as it's solventless, chemical-free, organic material.
Yeah, even like the rosin bar, compostable. Like when
like even the rosin bar, even though it is a disposable, and you can't make a battery that's compostable at this point yet, but even the outward shell of the rosin bar, we're using recycled hemp to make the outward shell. And we are entering into agreements with some of our retail partners for a recycling program for customers or consumers to be able to return that vape pen back upon when they come back for the next one. They're able to bring it back, and we're working on some programs to get them recycled and handled properly once they're returned.
That's cool. they asked a follow-up question. The farmers that you grow with, are any of them like OCal certified? You know, like I know that like the farmers can't be organic certified because that's like a federal
Yeah,
class.
so the majority of the farms are clean green certified. They all operate a little differently, of course, but again, they go to a great deal of care. They're growing with love. These are old school growers that have been doing it for generations and growing with love, and they go out of their way to make sure that their facilities as well are run as clean as possible. You know, some of them are sourcing their water from aquifers that run underneath their fields. You know, they're all doing what they can to keep the process clean, and that's very important to us. Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially I think if these cultivators know that their end product is going to be made into concentrates. We all know anything in that flower is going to be then concentrated. So then they're taking like extra steps.
Yes, they
Of
do have to
course.
take extra steps to make sure that the fertilizers that they're using and the nutrients that they're using are all natural as well. Because as you mentioned, once again, once they're broken down and concentrated, something that may be at acceptable levels on the flower level
Mhm.
may not be at acceptable levels on the concentrate level. So they do their best to make sure it's as clean as possible.
Yeah, and then there's always that safety net of the DCC and our required compliance testing. They're going to make sure that
Yes,
anything,
yes,
that it always has to pass that standard of testing too. So
absolutely.
there's always that too. Um, but yeah, this has been amazing. And I'm going to put this last QR code up here. But for anybody that's like interested in finding out more about like your guys' tech, and I know that you guys are the amazing inventors of like the Carta. And like if anybody wanted to find out about like jobs and careers, and I know that you guys are launching in New Jersey with the hashery. If
Yes.
anybody wanted to find out about like all of these different parts of rosin tech industries, how can they find out, information about all your guys' different companies or get a hold of you? Like, what's the best way?
Absolutely. We have a very informative website. We pride ourselves on making it educational, very simple. It's just rosintechlabs.com. If you'd like to reach out to me directly by email, again, very simple. It's just rob at rosintechlabs.com. And there is I see Candace was kind enough to put up our little code up there. If you want to scan that code, that will take you directly to our website as well. But once again, it's rosintechlabs.com, and you can email me directly at rob@rosintechlabs.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have as far as solventless extraction goes, and I can certainly help to point you in the right direction if it's a part of the industry that you're looking to get involved in, whether it's manufacturing the product yourself or getting the product for sale in your dispensaries. I can help in many different ways, so I welcome the opportunity to communicate with all of you.
Perfect. Well, this has been wonderfully, informative, and this, been great talking with you. I hope everybody watching, has, learned a little bit more about fresh press and the cold cure process of rosin concentrates, and learned like a little bit more about Rosin Tech Labs. It's a wonderful company. I've enjoyed their products, and a lot of our customers here at the Pharmacy Natural Healing Center and Pottery as well has enjoyed them for the time that they've been here in our stores. How long have we carried you? With
Yes, I mean, Glass House Group and Natural Healing Center, you guys have been great supporters almost from day one, more than 4 years now. You're awesome retail partners. We really appreciate and love the partnership that we have with you all. And yeah, as I said, you guys have been one of our first supporters more than 4 years ago, so we appreciate it.
Oh, that's great. I love hearing that. I've loved having you on. Thank you so much for taking this time with us, Rob.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, Candace. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and
Thank
tell
you
your whole.
all. Yeah, thank you all to everybody that took the time to log on, and I'm sure Candace will explain as well. This has all been recorded and will be available for you on their Friend of the Farm YouTube channel as well,
Mhm.
pretty much immediately after this
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, and thanks to your team as well, who helped, send me the images to make this all possible. Thank you for all that you guys do, supporting the legacy farmers up north. Thank you, the audience, for, spending this time with us. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for this edition of the Friends of the Farm lecture series. We hope that we were able to share some information that will help you all become better informed cannabis consumers, and that this information that we shared will help you find relief. We look forward to seeing you for another episode. Stay healthy and well, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Hey, thank you again, Candace and Friends of the Farm. Really appreciate the opportunity. You all have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye, guys.